Hey, what's up YouTube? Let me share this Druid season starter build with you real quick. The best part about it is that you don't need to level any glyphs to get the build fully online and working. Of course, if you level them, the build gets only stronger, but 6 level 1 glyphs are enough to destroy about 90% of the game's content right now. That also means you can level other glyphs for other Druid builds right away when farming those nightmare dungeons. Maybe you wanna try other Druid builds later. Or in other words, you could fully enjoy Diablo 4 without the time-consuming part of leveling all the glyphs up. The build is super easy to gear to get started. We are talking about being able to kill Duriel. It's super fast. It was my go-to build for Helltides, for example. It's a very relaxed zoom playstyle. It gets even more zoomy when playing on console or a gamepad, because you can walk and attack at the same time, which is insane. The downsides of this build, which you should be aware of, it's a melee build, hence occasional one-shots in high nightmare dungeons should be expected. Speaking of nightmare dungeons, with only level 1 glyphs, you will not be able to clear tier 100 in 1 minute. The setup is better for speed farming Helltide and killing pretty much every boss except Lilith, and it's not so much for very high tier dungeon pushing. I feel comfortable in tier 60 to tier 70 with my setup. Build planner and timestamps will be in the description for you to skip around. I would appreciate a like and subscription if you want to see more videos like this. With that being said, let's take a closer look at everything. Casts lightning and procs lightning. It's all about lightning. And you apply the lightning with Claw. For people who played Diablo 2, this reminds me very much of a Fury Druid from Diablo 2. This could be as well a rip cracker. But that's lightning damage, and yeah, it turns Claw, which is usually a basic skill, into a core skill, and it feels like Fury. Super good, super strong. More about that when I go over the skill tree. So, cooldowns are ready. This is a boss dummy. We have Earthen Bulwark. This is also unstoppable and makes us tanky, gives barrier, fortify, all the good stuff with one click of a button. This is another buff. Gives attack speed. Cyclone armor, just more defense. This is the ultimate, but there's so much cooldown reduction and mechanics within the build and PARAGON board and all the good stuff. Like everything works well together. So this is up almost 100% of the time. You can swap this out in boss fights. I show this as well in a second. And Hurricane, because it's a form of damage reduction. So what you would do is you walk around, spam just all the cooldowns, and use Claw. That's it. And it's super fast. Just use all cooldowns. On cooldown. That would be like just the basic rotation, right? In terms of speed, when farming Helltide, for example, I think in one Helltide I was able to open like 3 or 4 big chests, and I was not even trying. I was watching something on the second monitor. So let's compare this real quick to the other gear pieces. Swap Godslayer Crown for Might. Swap Boots for Rings. Even though this is really easy to get. Again, you don't spawn with these items, right? You're more likely to find just a random ring or printer aspect on there. So I found 2 rings good. There's the Rune Worker aspect. It's even more AoE and more procs. Or, not too bad either, I found this to be very useful against Duriel very early on. Like, it's super fun. It's like a Ring of Elements from like Diablo 3. When the rotation kicks in, you deal a lot of damage. Also not too bad. For the chest piece, I don't have a perfect rolled chest piece here, but just for the sake of showing. Of course you would use a good chest piece with decent stats, but it's about the aspect. So get Mending Stone here. Buff Earthen Bulwark even more. That's what you would use. Instead of Godslayer Crown and stuff. All you need to make this build work is this weapon right here. Great stuff of the crown. drops from Washrun, super easy to get. I mean, this, for example, dropped from a world boss, of course, but loot table wise and target farming can be acquired from Washrun. I needed like 3 tries and I had one, right? Of course, the first drop will be like garbage roll, but it's whatever. This is what makes the build work. Everything else is interchangeable. Of course, these kind of setups, which you can see in the planner as well, are favorable. Like they are proven to be working, they're proven to be good. Especially the other setup. If you wanted to commit to this build, the build works perfectly fine to farm up for another druid build, which requires more gear, right? Like this is super easy to throw together, and then you can farm up for an actual build, maybe. But if you commit to this, which is what I did, got Godslayer Crown, Flicker Step, this ring instead of Runeworker, Mad Wolf's Glee, pretty much it, yeah. In terms of sockets, damage reduction by 45. I don't know why I have life here. Sockets should be blue, alright. In terms of aspects, I mean, I would refer you to the planner because I don't want to steal too much of your time. This one is very important on the amulet. So let's say you really want to start. Get the staff, get rapid on the amulet, and you need overcharge somewhere. On a ring or on a glove, doesn't matter. That's pretty much all you need to to really put your first step into actual endgame content. And from then on, everything only gets better, right? Rapid on the amulet, overcharge on the glove, and the weapon from Washrun. Spirit Boons. I got this one. I got this one. I have this one. Both stand. And the important one is Overload. So lucky hit, also attack really fast, so this procs almost all the time. Dealing lightning damage has up to a 40% chance to cause the target to emit a static discharge. Dealing 5k lightning damage to surrounding enemies. So it's more AoE, more procs. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, like this is all about AoE and procs and stuff. Imagine like in Helltide. It's so convenient. The build is so good for farming Helltide. Nightmare dungeons too. It's fun. Like the class fantasy, it's just fun. You have like lightning storms freaking everywhere. You are tanky AF, super fast, go from pack to pack, hit them with claw. I can only recommend it. It's a fun. I had fun playing the game, playing this build. Okay. Skilltree. Let's talk about the skills for a brief second. So of course max claw. Depending on the roll on the weapon, this gets even a higher rank. My weapon is not perfect, but maybe one more thing I forgot to mention. Look for a high item power. It's all about the damage per second. I mean, of course, if you have like 5 of them, compare them and stuff, but in the end, like I tried several of those since I was farming them like crazy, and the damage per second was like the most important. Like for real. If you're lucky like me, you get one from a world boss, boom, there it is, 925, but yeah. Look for high damage per second roll, which means high item power in general. The other stats are not, the other stats do not make or break the build. Sorry for the sidetrack, so max claw, right? Since claw is casting Storm Strike automatically now, because of the weapon and the shenanigans and stuff, of course, maxing this as well, but this does not go in the skill bar. You will never ever cast this manually because that's like the whole theme of the build, right? Boom. Then max Predatory Instinct instead, and this one, movement speed while in werewolf form. Of course, get some defenses, bulwark. You can swap this around. I found this better. I found this to be better. That's up to you. Cyclone armor here. The attack speed buff, Blood Howl. Max out the passives. Ancestral Fortitude and Vigilance. No pets. Get the whole storm tree here. You have some choices here. But yeah, after playing the build for a whole season, I think putting one here and one in Charged Atmosphere, but maxing those two was the way to go for me. The one in the Hurricane, this does not deal much damage, but it's just about this Savage Hurricane. They deal less damage, so, you know, basically 20 DR all the time. If you cast it on cooldown. What you should do in this build, 1 point in Neurotoxin to unlock Envenom. I have Envenom plus skills on the amulet. Not really a hard item to find, it's very easy to acquire, right? Get just any random amulet with Envenom skills, and you're good to go. This is what poisons the enemies, so you can benefit off Envenom. 3 out of 3 Defiance, 1 in the ultimate. You can, when you fight bosses, let's say you want to farm more Vashrons to get a chance or a better Crone stuff, or you do Duriel. Then you could swap this out, and this Petrify is a little bit better against bosses, right? Gives bosses a debuff or whatever. But for a Helltide and AoE, Cataclysm with Supreme Cataclysm is the way to go. There are, I mean, if you read the Keystone passives, you could run different ones actually. Like especially for easier content, you can actually try what works best for you. From what I've seen online as well, and like comments and forums, some like Urizen Strength. I've seen one guy who played Perfect Storm. Me personally, since it's not enough shenanigans already in this build, I play around with Earth and Might, and I have the aspect which changed this ability to... so Earth and Might gets changed to a Storm skill. So that's the skill tree. And the reasoning behind it, Paragon board for a second. Also, shout out to whoever made this. I don't honestly remember who it was. This is the Paragon board. And now we talk about the broken part, and why the build's so ridiculously good, and why it works with level 1 glyphs, right? So, mine are level 15. This is level 12. So I unlocked the range from 2 of those, right? But the point is, it doesn't really matter. This would work perfectly fine if it says level 1, level 1, level 1, level 1. So first of all, it's 6 glyphs, and yeah, there's nothing necessary. Yeah, like there's no reason to level it any further than level 1. Just keep them at level 1. The only difference is, if you want to really cheese it, the only glyph I would level for the range is Spirit. Because then you get like 20% more crit damage, 20 or 40% more crit damage. So if you, in other words, if you really let every glyph sit on level 1 forever and level total other glyphs instead, I have like 40% less crit damage. That's pretty much it. Because you would swap those 2 points, get those 2 willpower here instead. And then you have Fang and Claw unlocked, okay? You like imagine Fang and Claw is level 1, and there's not the big range. So in order to unlock it, you need those 2, and you just swap those 2. That literally, that's it. That's the difference between leveled gloves and level 1 glove. That's the difference in this build between leveled up glyphs and level 1 glyphs. 40% crit damage. So it's up to you if you want to level this up. I mean, I committed to it because I liked the build so much, and it was just my speed farm build in that season. So I had like for pushing and like really difficult content, I had my extremely slow dot necro, but for Helltide and stuff, there's no way. Like the necro was just a headache, and that's where this character came in. So keep the glyphs level 1, do what you want to do, but that's what's up. Yeah. I think it's funny. It's just hilarious having a level 100 character with only level 1 glyphs, and you can actually kill Duriel. So, yeah. I think I talked about pretty much everything. Rotation, gear, all the good stuff. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about it, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, have fun in Season 3, guys. Later.